What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Panthers Advice. Today, man, we are hosting two fans in the stands. Unfortunately, Tony couldn't make it. He's not feeling great, but we got CJ here. And this is our first guest on the stream. They're one of the first people to reach out to me around the offseason, actually, back in March. So
hmm
only right that they're the first. Couple of the people later on this year, but had to do them right. What is going on, CJ? How are we doing today?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. I think it's Wednesday, but it still feels like Victory Monday to me, man.
Amen. Amen. Let's
Yeah, how
jump
about
into
yourself?
this thing. All right, so
Right.
victory Monday, all due to Andy Dalton. Give me your thoughts on, Andy coming in literally a year later. Last year was week 3 against the Seahawks. This year, week 3 against the Raiders. Once again, goes off in the passing game. Andy versus Bryce. Give me your thoughts on that real quick.
Simple. Seasoned veteran versus somebody who's technically Bryce is not a rookie anymore, but his confidence is definitely, I can't even say shaken at this point. It seems like it's completely broken. Okay. Andy gets in there. He has his play calls. He knows where his checkdowns are. And everything just seemed to flow. He knew where everybody was supposed to be. He put all the passes on the money. There was nobody reaching for passes that were too far out in front of him. It wasn't a lot of passes that were short or too low for the receivers to catch. And I mean, he was just making sure that everybody got involved. I mean, everybody, Tommy Tremble, Chuba Hubbard, in the run game and in the passing game out of the backfield. Adam Thielen, Deontay Johnson. I mean, it was just Xavier Leggett. It was just all around, man. He went out there and he really just did his thing.
Do you feel like they played harder for Andy than they did Bryce? That seems to be kind of a topic lately.
Well, I don't want to say they played harder for Andy than they played for Bryce, but I do think that Andy went out there and put them in a better position to showcase what they could do. Whereas Bryce, for whatever reason, I mean, it's a lot of everybody has their own opinion about Bryce. Whether he needs time or whether he's just absolute garbage. I mean, it's just you toss him up and see where they
Yeah.
fall. But yeah, but it was he put them like Dave Canales said. He felt like Andy Dalton put them in the best position to go out there and be able to be competitive and compete for wins. And that's exactly what we saw Sunday.
100%. Give me your thoughts on Bryce before we go on to the next thing. Do you think Bryce still has a future here in Carolina? Do you think he can get better under Andy Dalton? What's your perspective on that right now?
Okay, now this is just my opinion. All right. I think we're seeing what should have happened last year. But
Mhm.
what were we told last year before camp and all that started? We were a quarterback away. We had all the other pieces we needed a quarterback. Okay. So, I'm like, cool. You go out, you look, you see what he's doing in camps, OTAs. We went to camp for the first week last year. I was there for just about every practice this year. And in both scenarios, he looked good. He was out there practicing. This year his feet looked a lot looked better.
Yep.
His poise in the pocket, everything. But again, it's just practice.
So you were at practice, yeah, because you guys had a lot of content. You guys killed it during training camp. So you were there. You saw the footwork, right? And
hmm
then you look at these first two games. I mean, you had firsthand. You were up there. What changed?
I don't know. I don't know. And maybe it's you know how they say it's all good in practice. But you
Hmm.
got to see how somebody responds when quote unquote the bullets start flying and you get out there in real game situation. Now we thought that was what we saw in that one drive versus the Bills, but again,
Yep.
that's preseason. He's going out there playing with maybe against one or two starters, and the rest of them are twos and threes. If that was how many starters were out there, if any at all,
Yeah. Right.
and it's not, a real game situation where this team is prepared for you. They've watched film and that okay, we're gonna do this, this, and this. And
Hmm.
it's almost like he forgot everything. And I think what did it for me was the second game when he literally, everybody was like, well, he's always been throwing on his tippy toes. And I'm like, no, he literally had space between his feet and the ground. Like, I think I could probably put, a couple small bricks, up under his feet. I mean, like, he literally jumped off the ground and was throwing passes. And I was like, yeah, no, I was like, this is not it. I was like, this isn't it. But I don't know what happened between OTAs, training camp, that one preseason drive, and these first two games of the season. But and we talked about this the other night. I think it might have had something to do with that first pass of the season being intercepted, and it's almost like whatever little bit of confidence he had, it's threw it all out the window.
Biggest difference you've seen between Dave and Frank so far? And you were at training camp, you saw everything from both.
Mhm.
What are your biggest takeaways?
Just the culture, just what Dave Canales brings, the positivity. Okay. Now, sometimes you can tell when he's a little less positive, in his press
Uh-huh.
conferences, you can tell when he's got a little bit on his mind. I don't know, I don't want to say worried, but something's bothering him, or the subject is not really sensitive, but it's just like he's like, let me take a breath before I get up here and talk about this.
Yeah.
But I think you can tell that the players, they want to go out there and play for him. They always say, somebody going, you run into a wall for this person or whatnot.
Mhm.
Just the positivity, the way he talks in the press conferences, in his interviews, and all of that stuff. Don't get me wrong, had no issues with Frank, but it seems like he's more of a player's coach to me. It seems like he gets it as far as the players, and making sure that he's just bringing the good energy to the team. Making everybody know, like, hey, this is my plan. If we do this and we execute, 1, 2, and 3, X, Y, and Z, these
Mhm.
are the results that you can expect. And I think, especially since his last week when Bryce got benched, Andy got in, you really saw everything that he's been preaching this off season, come to pass.
Is there any chance you think Frank could have succeeded with this team if they would have drafted CJ Stroud?
You know what? That's an interesting question. And if everything is true and he didn't want Bryce Young, and I've heard that, he didn't want to tailor his system to Bryce Young,
Mhm.
um, it's a possibility. It's a possibility if that's the quarterback that he wanted, and that's who he felt could run his system right. It's a possibility because, as we see now, first two games of the season, Bryce is not out there running Dave Canales' offense like it should be ran, and he was like, you know what, it's time to go ahead and make this decision. We put Andy in, and by God, instant results.
Were we fools to think we ever had a chance looking back, or do you think there would have been chance with a different quarterback?
And that's a damn good question. No, I don't think we were. I don't think we were fools. Because again, like I said, if Frank, if everything was true, if Frank would have got who he wanted, he
Mhm.
may have been able to orchestrate their offense a little differently. And I'll say it kind of like the first two games of this season. We didn't see close to anything as far as play calling that we saw in the game this Sunday past versus the Raiders. I think that playbook, I mean, just opened up wide, and Dave Canales was like, "All right, bet I got this play, we got this play." I mean, you even seen him put Chuba Hubbard at fullback on like a,
Yeah.
a, a 3rd and 2,
Yep.
and hand him the ball off, and he ran for like 10 yards. I mean, it was stuff like that. We got behind the stick so bad in these first two games, and then you couple that with Bryce back there just not looking good at all, but I don't know. I think Frank, I think it's kind of 50-50. Frank possibly could have done what he needed to do if he would have got CJ Stroud. But it's one of those situations where it's like we'll never know. Oh
All
yeah.
right, let's jump into the fun part real quick. Predictions.
Okay.
You don't have to make a prediction on the record if you don't want to,
Okay.
but let's say Andy Dalton stays healthy. What number would you be happy with touchdowns and interceptions wise?
Touchdowns and interceptions. I would be happy if Andy put up somewhere in the neighborhood of, 28, 29 touchdowns and say 10 to 15 interceptions. You know what I mean? I think that would be, leaps and bounds of what we had last year. But I don't want to put too much pressure on. I don't want to say that, off of one game he's going to go out here and throw for, 30 something touchdowns. But he's a veteran, and I think he will get us close to where we need to be.
Mhm.
But just say 28-12. I'm gonna give him 28-12.
What number would you be happy with Carolina Panthers wins?
Wins. if they got I can't say 500 because we get 17 games, but if they got anywhere between 7 to 9 wins, I'd be ecstatic.
CJ, I've appreciated your time here. But before we wrap it up, score prediction this week. What are you thinking?
Ooh, boy, let me tell you. Um, the diehard Panther fan in me wants to say 30-24 Panthers.
All right.
30-24 Panthers. The podcaster in me wants to be really, really, just go on the cautious side
Mm-hmm.
and, just like, maybe the Panthers don't pull this one out. Maybe it's like, 24-20 Cincinnati. But, I'm going to go with my diehard Panther fan. I'm going to say 30-24 Panthers.
30-24 from CJ.
Yeah, 30-24.
All right, CJ, I've enjoyed your time here. We'll have to see if you're right or not, my man.
Hey, I hope I am, man. I appreciate you letting me on.
Yes, sir. We'll have to do it again. Hopefully more of the season if you're okay with that.
Oh, yeah, anytime, man. Anytime.
All right, guys, take it easy. Panthers Devices out. Shout out to CJ, two fans on the stands. Hopefully Tony gets better. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Stay tuned.